بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. الحديث السادس والثلاثون عن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال: من نفس عن مؤمن كربة من كرب الدنيا نفس الله عنه كربة من كرب يوم القيامة، ومن يسر على معسر يسر الله عليه في الدنيا والآخرة، ومن ستر مسلما ستره الله في الدنيا والآخرة، والله في عون العبد ما كان العبد في عون أخيه، ومن سلك طريقا يلتمس فيه علما سهل الله له به طريقا إلى الجنة، وما اجتمع قوم في بيت من بيوت الله يتلون كتاب الله ويتدارسونه بينهم إلا نزلت عليهم السكينة وغشيتهم الرحمة وحفتهم الملائكة وذكرهم الله في من عنده، ومن بطأ به عمله لم يسرع به نسبه. رواه Muslim بهذا اللفظ. On the authority of Abu Hurairah radiyallahu anhu, who said that the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, whosoever lightens or removes a difficulty from another believer, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will remove from that individual one of their difficulties on the Day of Judgment. Whosoever alleviates the need or the needs of a person in need, Allah will alleviate that individual's needs in this world and the next. Whosoever conceals the faults of a Muslim, Allah will conceal that individual's faults in this world and the hereafter. Allah will aid a servant. Allah will help one of his servants as long as that servant is helping his or her brother or sister. Whosoever follows a path to seek knowledge, Allah will make easy for him a path to paradise. And no people gather together in one of the houses of Allah, reciting the book of Allah and studying it amongst themselves, except that tranquility descends upon them. Mercy envelops them, and angels surround them, and Allah makes mention of them amongst those who are with him. Whosoever is slowed down by his actions will not be hastened forward by his or her lineage. This hadith is reported by Imam Muslim rahmatullahi alayhi in his Sahih. Alhamdulillah, we have reached hadith number 36 in the Arba'in, in the 40 of Imam Nawawi rahmatullahi alayhi, and we'll get right into it. So Imam Nawawi rahmatullahi alayhi, he says about this hadith, he says, and as you guys can tell by the translation, he says, هو حديث عظيم جامع لأنواع من العلوم والقواعد والآداب. He said this hadith is full of gems, full of pieces of knowledge, full of things to do with etiquette and how a human being and how a Muslim should conduct themselves and how a Muslim should treat their fellow brother or sister. And this hadith is actually connected to last week's hadith, or not last week, the week before that, when we had our last dars. That last dars and lecture, we spoke about how an individual should not have jealousy, should not have hatred, should not have enmity for one of their brothers or sisters. So more to do with the internal, how we think about a Muslim brother or sister, or how we think about an individual. But this hadith has more to do with how we should treat those individuals. So last week was more about the internal. This week is more about the external. So this hadith has a whole bunch of pieces of advice, right? And we see through other narrations, through other ahadith, that this hadith, its pieces of advice have been narrated separately as well. We see how all these pieces of advice are all together here in this hadith, but it has also been narrated separately. Each and every one of these pieces of advice have been narrated by themselves as well, okay? So this hadith has been reported by many, many companions. طيب? We'll get right into the hadith. It is extremely extensive, so inshallah ta'ala we'll try to cover all of it today. So the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he begins, he says, من نفس عن مؤمن كربة من كرب الدنيا نفس الله عنه كربة من كرب يوم القيامة. Whoever makes easy, or whoever eases or lightens the difficulties of an individual, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will lighten and remove that person's difficulties on the day of judgment. Okay, so there's a few words being used here, okay? And this entire hadith, the first probably 4 pieces of advice, they have to do with the concept of what? Innal jaza min jinsil amal. There's a principle in Islam that you will be treated the way you treat others. There's this very special principle in Islam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He mentions this in Surah Al-Rahman in the Quran, where He says, هَلْ جَزَاءُ الْإِحْسَانِ إِلَّا الْإِحْسَانِ. He says that the reward of being good, should it not be anything except that good will be for this person as well? So if a person treats another with ihsan, Allah will treat that person with ihsan. And we see this with many, many examples, many, many narrations as well. One of the many narrations, as Ibn Rajab al-Hanbali, he says, وَقَدْ تَكَاثَرَتِ النُّصُوص بِهَذَا الْمَعْنَى. There's so many narrations that have this principle of you do one thing, Allah will treat you that way as well. An example is the hadith that's mentioned in both Bukhari and both in Muslim, where the Prophet ﷺ, he says, إِنَّمَا يَرْحَمُ اللَّهُ مِنْ عِبَادِهِ الرُّحَمَةِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will have mercy on His slaves who have mercy on others. Allah will have rahmah, shower rahmah on those slaves who shower rahmah to the people around them. Or another example, the Prophet ﷺ, this hadith is mentioned in Sahih Muslim, where he says, إِنَّ اللَّهَ يُعَذِّبُ الَّذِينَ يُعَذِّبُونَ النَّاسَ فِي الدُّنْيَا. Allah will punish those people on the day of judgment. Which people? Those people who punish others in this world. So whatever you do and however you treat an individual, you will reap those seeds you have sowed. Right? This is one of the things of our religion, as Ibn Rajab al-Hanbali mentions, and we see through many different examples. The very famous saying, right? What goes around comes around, right? But this is also in regards to the good we do as well. The good we do will come back to us as well, inshallah ta'ala. It's not only for bad, it's also for the good we do. So it's more of an incentive to treat people with kindness, treat people with mercy. Allah will treat us with that same kindness and mercy as well. Now, so what does kurba mean? The Prophet ﷺ, he uses the word kurba here. Kurba in a very simple translation, it means difficulty. But it's not a normal difficulty. Okay, it's a bit more extreme than that. So it's mentioned, a kurba is what? الشدة العظيمة الذي توقع صاحبها في الكرب. It's a type of difficulty. It's an extreme type of difficulty that pushes a person to stress and anxiety. It's that type of difficulty that a person, they become depressed or they become extremely stressed to a point where they don't even want to get up anymore. Their chest is very tight. It's a specific type of hardship. This is what a kurba is, okay? So, and then after that, the Prophet ﷺ, he says, nafasa. He uses the verb nafasa. Nafasa means to lighten something. Okay, it doesn't mean to remove it. It doesn't mean to remove a difficulty. It means to lighten it, to make it a bit easier for that person, meaning to support that individual. So look at the reward here. The Prophet ﷺ is saying what? The Prophet ﷺ is saying that, look, even if you don't remove that person's difficulty, even if you're just there for them with the minimal amount, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will be there for you as well on Yawm al-Qiyamah. Even if it's as simple as calling somebody, asking them how they're doing after a difficulty, right? Calling them, or just showing up one day and just telling them, hey, I'm here for you. If you need anything, let me know. Words can go a very long way as well. Sometimes we can't do anything because of our busy schedules, right? We can't do anything in terms of our actions. But the least we can do is tell them that, look, you know what I mean? If you ever need anything, call me. And be there to back those words up, right? So and we'll speak about some examples, inshallah ta'ala. So this is the wording the Prophet ﷺ uses. Okay? So now, Ibn Rajab al-Hanbali, he says something else. He says, فَجَزَاءُ التَّنْفِيسِ التَّنْفِيسِ وَجَزَاءُ التَّفْرِيجِ التَّفْرِيجِ. The consequence and the reward of lightening or helping a person in need is the exact same thing. And then he goes and he says, the consequence of removing a person's difficulty completely, will result in what? Allah removing your difficulty completely as well. So the more you do, the more Allah will give. That's the whole gist of this narration and what Ibn Rajab al-Hanbali, the great commentator, is saying. The more you do for a person, the more Allah will do for you. Right? Sometimes, the keys to removing one of our difficulties could be in just helping another person with theirs. We don't know what we could do for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to shower mercy on us. Right? It can be the smallest of things. So why it's so important to be there for one another. Right? And then the narration continues. And this is obviously, in respect to the evil as well. The whole thing of what goes around comes around. Obviously, it pertains to the evil we do as well. Okay, so there's a narration that the Prophet ﷺ mentioned. This narration is mentioned in Sahih Muslim. We've probably all heard this narration. The Prophet ﷺ, what did he say? He said, تدنو الشمس من العباد حتى تكون قدر ميل أو ميلين فتصرههم الشمس فيكونون في العرق كقدر أعمالهم. On the day of judgment, the sun will come very close to the people there. The sun will descend. The sun will come extremely close to people, to a point where people will sweat so much. People will sweat so much, and they're gonna sweat in accordance to what? Their deeds, their bad deeds. The more bad deeds these individuals have, the more bad deeds the people have, the higher their sweat will be. So the narration mentions, فَمِنْهُمْ مَنْ يَأْخُذُ عَلَىٰ عَقِبَيْهِ. Some people, their sweat will reach their ankles. Others, their sweat will reach their knees. Others, their sweat will reach what? Their necks. So it will literally be made into a swimming pool for them, right? And one thing to remember is that things that pertain to the akhirah, it goes above our imaginations, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran, He says, وَمَا أُوتِيتُم مِّنَ الْعِلْمِ إِلَّا قَلِيلًا. You've been given very little knowledge. But all these things, what the Prophet ﷺ has said is haqq, and what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said is haqq as well. So our sweat will literally be made into swimming pools for people based on the bad deeds they do. And the narration mentions there will be people who will be drowning in their sweat because of the amount of bad they did in this world. Right? So you literally will reap the seeds you sow. Right? Or another narration mentioned, Abu Musa al-Ash'ari radiyallahu anhu, the great Sahabi, he says what? الشَّمْسُ فَوْقَ رُؤُوسِ النَّاسِ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ. The sun will be right above the heads of the people on Yawm al-Qiyamah. فَأَعْمَالُهُمْ تُظِلُّهُمْ أَوْ تُصْبِحُهُمْ. Their deeds, good or bad, their deeds will either shade them from the sun, will protect them, meaning their good deeds will either protect them from the sun, or their bad deeds will make them drown because of the profuse heat and the sweat coming from the individual's body. Another narration mentioned that these people will melt because of the heat of the sun. And this is in respect to what? The bad deeds a person does. Right? So, this goes to the very famous poem, the individual, he says, هر کی آمد گل ز باغ زندگانی چید رفت مزرعه تخم عمل را در جهان پاشید رفت. Right? The poet says that people have come to this world and people will continue to come to this world. They will pick from the flowers of this world. Their good deeds will be the things they pick from this world. Then he goes and he says, مزرعه تخم عمل را در جهان پاشید رفت. Their good deeds, they are in essence seeds that they are planting. The good deeds they are doing, or the bad deeds they are doing, they are seeds. And whatever those seeds grow to be, it will either benefit them or it will harm them, based on the good or based on the bad those individuals do. We will see the consequences of these things, the results of these things, right? So our actions, in essence, like as I mentioned, are seeds based on this narration. طيب. So then the hadith continues. The Prophet ﷺ, what does he say? He says, وَمَنْ يَسَّرَ عَلَى مُعْسِرٍ يَسَّرَ اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ فِي الدُّنْيَا وَالْآخِرَةِ. The Prophet ﷺ, he says, whoever alleviates or makes easy the difficulty of another individual, Allah will make those people's difficulties easy in this dunya and the hereafter. So now there's a question. The first sentence, the Prophet ﷺ said that those people will only see the consequences or the reward of their actions in the hereafter. But now the Prophet ﷺ is saying here that a person who alleviates the stress of another person in this world, Allah will make their difficulties easy in this world and the hereafter. So why is there a difference? Why did the Prophet ﷺ not mention the dunya in the first sentence, right? It's only akhirah in respect to a kurba. So with respect to a kurba, as we mentioned, a kurba is an extreme difficulty. So the Prophet ﷺ said that whoever makes easy or lightens the extreme difficulties of an individual, Allah will lighten their extreme difficulties in the day of judgment. He says nothing about the dunya here. The reason being is because there are two answers that the scholars give. The first is because kurbas, meaning extreme difficulties, not everybody goes through them. Not everybody in life goes through extreme difficulties, right? People go through difficulties, but extreme difficulties to a point where, like, you know, some of the people we saw in Syria, for example, or in Palestine, like, people have lost entire families. People are dying of starvation. This is an extreme difficulty, right? So Ibn Rajab al-Hanbali, he says, not everyone goes through these types of difficulties. It's very rare for an individual to go through something like this, right? So for this reason, this is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has only mentioned the hereafter, because not too many people go through these types of difficulties in this world. But the other answer he gives is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what's he going to do? He says, ادخر الله جزاء التنفيس الكرب أو كرب عنده لينفس به كرب الآخرة. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the reason why he doesn't want to give the consequences of helping people with very, very extreme difficulties in this dunya, it's because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's mercy, he wants to give us all of that reward in the hereafter. Because the reward of the hereafter is what counts. He wants us to maximize in the hereafter, right? So this is why there's a difference between extreme difficulties, helping someone with an extreme difficulty, and helping someone with a minor difficulty, okay? Helping someone with a minor difficulty, what happens? The Prophet ﷺ just told us, Allah will help you, Allah will help us with our minor difficulties in this dunya and the hereafter. So it's a win-win situation for us, right? It's a win-win situation for us. So there's a narration that mentions, the hadith is mentioned in Sahih Muslim, where the Prophet ﷺ, he says, "Man sarrahu ay yunjiyahu Allahu min kurabi yawm al-qiyamah, falyunaffis an mu'sirin aw yada'a anhu." Whoever wants Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect him from the difficulties of the hereafter, then this person should go and try to ease and lighten some of the even minor difficulties of another, right? So we see the rewards here now and the hereafter, right? Another narration that's also mentioned in Sahih Muslim, the Prophet ﷺ, he said, "Man andara mu'siran aw wada'a anhu, adallahu Allahu fi dhillihi yawma la dhilla anhu." Whoever eases the minor difficulties of an individual, Allah will grant that person shade on that day where there is no shade. Meaning on the day of judgment. On that day, people will be looking for shade. They'll be screaming for shade, running around looking for anything to cover them from the heat of the sun. Allah says, if you help a person in this dunya, minor or big, Allah will help you in that life. Allah will help you during that turmoil. So the narration goes, and then we're going to pause after, just for some pieces of advice. The narration continues. The Prophet ﷺ, he says, وَمَنْ سَتَرَ مُسْلِمًا سَتَرَهُ اللَّهُ فِي الدُّنْيَا وَالْآخِرَةِ. Whoever conceals the sins of an individual, Allah will conceal that person's sins in this world and the hereafter. Okay? And Ibn Rajab al-Hanbali says, مِمَّا تَكَاثَرَتِ النُّصُوص بِمَعْنَى. There's so many ahadith with this narration, with this meaning. Concealing one another's sin. Encouraging us to conceal people's sins rather than exposing it. In today's day and age, people hunt for this kind of stuff. People hunt, they go around and hunt for people's faults and sins so they can go and call their buddy and say, hey, did you hear about this? So they can gain some attention by it. You know what I mean? People are just craving these types of things, this type of drama, or this type of, it's a really sad reality. The narrations that speak about this are plenty. So there's another narration where the Prophet ﷺ, this narration is mentioned Once again, in the Sunan of Ibn Majah, the Prophet ﷺ, he says, "Man satara awrata akhihi al-Muslim." Whoever conceals the sins of his brother or sister, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will conceal their sins on the day of judgment. The narration goes, whoever exposes the sin of one of their awra doesn't have to do with sin. Awra can also mean fault. Okay? Whoever exposes the fault or the sin of a Muslim brother or sister, Allah will expose their faults and their sins. Hatta, but the narration continues, hatta yafdahahu biha fi bayti. So much so that this individual, their sin will not, or their fault will not only be known in the public, it will even be known within their household. The people in their house will know of the sins and the faults they have. Allah will make it this much apparent. This is just by what? Exposing a person, looking for faults in a person, speaking to people about another individual's defects or sins, when it's not even our business. We should be worrying about ourselves. We have so many sins and defects within us. Why are we going around talking about other people's defects and sins? Doesn't make sense. Now, so there's another narration. Well, it's more of a consequence from the ulama of the past that they've seen and some of the things that they have witnessed and they've experienced. Ibn Rajab al-Hanbali, he brings a very beautiful narration. He says, the scholars of the past, they used to say, أَدْرَكْتُ قَوْمًا لَمْ يَكُنْ لَهُمْ عُيُوبٌ. We used to go and meet groups of people who were, they had no they had no faults. When you were to look at them, they looked like very decent and good individuals. You couldn't talk about anything of theirs because they were such good individuals. But he says, فَذَكَرُوا عُيُوبَ النَّاسِ. But one of the things these people would do, they would talk about and mention the faults of other people. Okay? Then what did he say? فَذَكَرَ النَّاسَ عُيُوبَهُم. People would then be able to find faults within them. Right when they began to start talking about other people's faults, people thought they were all, perfect and good and this and that. Allah started to show that, hey, these people have faults and sins. So other people started to begin talking about them. This is people who seemed so good in the eyes of everybody. But what was the mistake they made? They started nitpicking at people's faults and talking about their sins. And Allah made it apparent that, look, you guys think they're good, here's their sins, here's their faults. Right? Even though they had nothing. Even though in people's eyes they seemed perfect. And now the contrary. He says, وَأَدْرَكْتُ قَوْمًا كَانَتْ لَهُمْ عُيُوبٌ. But we have met people who had so many defects. They used to sin. They had faults. They had mistakes. But what did they do? فَكَفُّوا عَنْ عُيُوبِ النَّاسِ. But they never spoke about other people's sins. They never spoke about people's faults. They never spoke about people's mistakes. They focused on themselves. Even though they themselves had, they were people who had many defects. But what was the consequence here? فَنُسِيَتْ عُيُوبُهُمْ. People started to forget that they had faults. People started to forget that they had mistakes. People started to overlook the mistakes they had. By doing what? Just by staying silent and not talking about other people's faults and sins. Allah concealed theirs in the eyes of people. Right? So it goes a very long way, right? We might seem that it's something very minor, but it actually goes an extremely long way, right? We will see the rewards and we will see the consequences in this dunya. Now, so the narration continues. There's another narration that Ibn Rajab al-Hanbali mentioned. He says, the Prophet ﷺ, he said, Ya ma'ashara man amana bilisani. O people who believe with their tongue. وَلَمْ يَدْخُلِ الْإِيمَانِ فِي قَلْبِهِ. And those people, and O you people who iman has not even entered your hearts yet. لَا تَغْتَابُ الْمُسْلِمِينَ. Do not backbite individuals. Do not backbite whatsoever. Don't talk behind people's back. وَلَا تَتَّبِعُوا عَوْرَاتَهُمْ. And do not chase people's faults and mistakes. Do not chase people's faults and mistakes. Don't go after the mistakes they do. فَإِنَّهُ مَنِ اتَّبَعَ عَوْرَاتَهُمْ تَتَّبَعَ اللَّهُ عَوْرَتَهُ. Whoever follows and pursues the faults of an individual, Allah will pursue their faults. Allah will show their faults. وَمَنْ تَتَّبَعَ اللَّهُ عَوْرَتَهُ. And again the narration, يَفْضَحُهُ فِي بَيْتِهِ. whoever goes and starts looking for other people's sins and faults, Allah will make it such that that person's household will start knowing about the mistakes they do and the sins they commit. Allah will disgrace them even in their own house. They'll be disgraced outside their house because people will know what they're doing, but they'll also be disgraced in their own house by their own family members because of the amount of them going and nitpicking and looking for people's faults and sins. So it's an extreme caution for us, my brothers and sisters, to stay away from searching for people's faults and errors. We have so many ourselves. There's no point going around looking for other people's sins and faults and so forth, right? So the narration continues. The Prophet ﷺ, he says, "Wallahu fi auni al-abdi ma kana al-abdu fi auni akhi." Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will be at the assistance and at the aid of one of his servants as long as those slaves and servants are at the aid and assistance of their brothers and sisters. Meaning Allah will help you as long as you are helping the people around you. Allah will help you as long as you are going and trying to help the people around you. And this, refers to, this reminds me of probably one of my most favorite narrations. This is one of my favorite narrations because this narration is so complete and it's so compatible in today's day and age that if everybody were to just, every single one of these hadith are extremely comprehensive. But if everybody were to just focus on this narration itself, society would change completely. What did the Prophet ﷺ say? And this hadith is authentic. It's reported in Al-Mu'jam Al-Awsat of Imam Tabrani. So the Prophet ﷺ, what did he say? He said, the most beloved people to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are those who are the most beneficial to the people around them. The most beloved people to Allah are those who are the most beneficial to the people around them. Then he goes and he says, the most beloved deed to Allah, the most beloved deed to Allah is to make another individual happy. Think about that for a second. The most beloved deed to Allah is to make another individual happy, or to remove one of their troubles, or to pay off one of their debts, or to even feed them if they're hungry. Any type of stress they have, you're there to remove it. You're there to make them happy. These are the most beloved deeds to Allah. There is extreme emphasis on the 5 pillars, which are very important, right? Salah is very important. Praying is very important. The shahada, fasting, zakat, hajj, very important. But these are also our rewards, our concepts of our religion that are also extremely important. It's not only about praying and just being cruel to the people around you, right? It's not only about pray or fasting in Ramadan and going and cursing everyone around you. These are things that will beautify and complete a person's iman. The narration, this narration, he continues. The Prophet ﷺ, he said, walking with an individual in need is more beloved to me than I seclude myself in this masjid in Medina for an entire month and worship Allah. Helping a person in need is more beloved to me. The Prophet ﷺ is saying this. It's more beloved to me than staying in Masjid al-Nabawi for an entire month in seclusion and just worshiping Allah. Helping a person is more beloved. Helping a person is more accepted. It's more beloved in the sight of Allah. Think about that, right? It's not only about ibadat and how we worship. It's also about how we help the people around us, how we're there for them. Being people who are very giving, being people who are very open, and being people who are very, having ears to everyone, right? And this narration is long, but this first part is very touching to me, right? Where he says making an individual happy is one of the most beloved deeds to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And there's a narration that Al-Hasan al-Basri, he narrates. So Al-Hasan al-Basri says, وَبَعَثَ Al-Hasan al-Basri قَوْمًا مِنْ أَصْحَابِهِ فِي قَضَاءِ حَاجَةٍ لِرَجُلٍ. So one day Al-Hasan al-Basri sent his students to go and help an individual in need. Al-Hasan al-Basri, he's a great tabi'i of the past, okay? He met many Sahaba. So his students go, and then Al-Hasan al-Basri, he said, go to Thabit al-Bunani. He said, go to Thabit al-Bunani. Thabit al-Bunani was one of his students. So they went to him, and they went to Thabit al-Bunani, and then Thabit al-Bunani, he said, أنا معتكف. He said, I'm staying in the masjid. I'm in i'tikaf, meaning I can't leave the masjid right now. So I can't help this person. So then they went, فَرَجَعُوا إِلَى الْحَسَنِ فَأَخْبَرُوهُ. So they went back to Al-Hasan al-Basri and they told him what Thabit al-Bunani said. That Thabit al-Bunani, he said that he's in the masjid, he's in i'tikaf, and he can't go and help this person. Al-Hasan al-Basri, what did he say? He said, قُولُوا لَهُ. Go back and tell him, يَا أَعْمَشْ أَمَا تَعْلَمُ أَنَّ مَشْيَكَ فِي حَاجَةِ أَخِيكَ الْمُسْلِمِ خَيْرٌ لَكَ مِنْ حَجَّةٍ بَعْدَ حَجَّةٍ. He said, go back to him and tell him that, oh, student, do you not know that walking with a person in need, is better for you, is better than going for Hajj over and over and over again? Just walking with a person in need is better than all this? فَرَجَعُوا إِلَى ثَابِتٍ. So they went and told Thabit this. And what did he do? فَتَرَكَ اِعْتِكَافَهُ وَذَهَبَ عَنْهُمْ. So Thabit al-Bunani, he left the masjid. He said, okay, I'm not going to be in i'tikaf anymore. And he went and he helped this individual that needed help. So I mean, this was how much they were there for people whenever somebody asked, right? And throughout time, this sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ has slowly but surely left us, right? These people used to go around seeking and searching to help people around them, right? Searching for people in need. But now it's like we have to force ourselves to do it. It's quite sad. So there's another example. It's another very beautiful narration about Ibn Umar radiallahu anhuma. So there's a great tabi'i by the name of Mujahid ibn Jabr. He's a great mufassir, and he was a great student of some of the Sahaba. So Mujahid ibn Jabr, he said, "Sahibtu ibn Umar fi safari li akhdimahu." You know, I used to sometimes travel with Abdullah ibn Umar so I can help him, so I can serve him. Right? Abdullah ibn Umar, he was a great companion of the Prophet ﷺ. So some of his students, they used to try to travel with him so they can serve him, and they used to so they can gain a reward. But then Mujahid ibn Jabr, what does he say? فَكَانَ يَخْدِمُنِي. Abdullah ibn Umar wouldn't let me serve him. He used to serve me. This is a great companion serving his student. He says, I used to try my best to give him water, to give him food, but he used to tell me to stop, and he used to do that for me himself. And these are people, I mean, these are like, think about this. Think about a great scholar coming and serving us. Think about like one of the greatest scholars in the world coming right now and just feeding us and giving us water and taking care of us. That is what this relationship is. Abdullah ibn Umar, one of the greatest companions of the Prophet ﷺ, serving one of his students. Right? And Ibn Rajab al-Hanbali said, وَكَانَ كَثِيرٌ مِنَ الصَّالِحِينَ. Many of the people of the past, many of these righteous individuals, this was their habit. They used to make it a condition upon themselves that, look, I will travel, I'll let you travel with me on the condition that I am able to serve you. And their students would just be like, you know, like they wouldn't know what to say, right? And then he mentions another similar narration. He said, وَالصَّحِبَ رَجُلًا قَوْمًا فِي الْجِهَادِ. One of the armies were going out in battle, and there was an individual who accompanied this army. But this individual, what did he do? فَاشْتَرَطَ عَلَيْهِمْ أَن يَخْدِمَهُم. This individual made the condition that, look, I'm going to serve every single one of you people. You guys are going for battle. Let me serve you. Let me make food for you guys, or let me get water for you guys. Let me clean your clothes and so forth. So he goes, فَكَانَ إِذَا أَرَادَ أَحَدٌ مِّنْهُمْ أَن يَغْسِلَ رَأْسَهُ أَوْ ثَوْبَهُ فَقَالَ هَذَا مِنْ شَرْطِي فَيَفْعَلُ. So whenever a person would try to wash their clothes or eat or whatever it was, this man would run and say, hey, you guys accepted this condition of mine? Let me wash your clothes. Let me feed you. Let me cook food for you. You guys don't do anything. I'm here to serve you. So then the narration continues. فَمَاتَ. This individual, this man, he ended up passing away. Okay? فَجَرِّدُوهُ لِلْغُسْلِ فَرَأَوْا عَلَى يَدِهِ مَكْتُوبًا مِنْ أَهْلِ الْجَنَّةِ. So they got this individual ready for ghusl. And this is not a narration mentioned in one of the books of the Sufis. A lot of people think that a lot of these wicked or these crazy stories or what these stories are mentioned in the books of Sufis. This is mentioned in the book of Ibn Rajab al-Hanbali, one of the greatest muhaddithin of this ummah. Okay, he's mentioning this narration. So he says that when this man died, they prepared his body for ghusl. They prepared to wash his body. But they saw something written on his hand. They saw written on this person's hand, min ahli al-jannah. He is from the people of Jannah. Ajib. A person passes away. Imagine that. Somebody passes away and on their hand, there's some writing. And then when you look at it, it's an actual, a consequence of where this person's going to be. They were just in shock and in awe. And they goes, فَنَظَرُوا فَإِذَا هِيَ كِتَابَ بَيْنَ الْجِلْدِ وَاللَّحْمِ. When they looked closely, they saw that this writing was not on his skin. It was between the flesh and the skin. You know how there's the skin and then there's the flesh underneath? It was written between that. Meaning this person could not have written it himself. This was a sign from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Why? Why did Allah give, and this is the thing, during the times of the past, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala used to make the glad tidings of people apparent sometimes. Throughout time, spirituality and these concepts have decreased, right? But during those times, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would make it apparent sometimes. And we see it with this narration. And why did he gain this glad tiding? Because of how he used to serve the people and how he used to help the people, right? So Imam Shu'bah, rahmatullahi alayhi, this is something that brings this concept to my mind. Imam Shu'bah, who is a great scholar of hadith, he says, كُلُّ مَنْ كَتَبْتُ عَنْهُ حَدِيثًا فَأَنَا لَهُ عَبْدٌ. Everybody who I learned a single word from, I used to treat that person like he was my master. I used to serve them to the best I can, right? So they were there for the people around them. It didn't matter who it was, their teachers, the people they traveled with, the youngsters, the elders, it didn't matter. They were there for them no matter what, to help them with whatever it was. طيب. And every Muslim should be doing this, right? Every Muslim should be doing this. And everyone has different capacities. Some people can do more, some people can do less. But that does not mean we should be stagnant and not do anything, right? Sometimes people are, they're studying in universities, they're studying in schools or whatever it is. It can be just the smallest of things. You see a person, they don't have enough food at the cafeteria. Give them some money, let them buy some food. Or you see a person sometimes, they're by themselves, they have no friends. You see that they're a little lonely sometimes. Go sit with them, go talk to them. Accompany them. Be there for them, right? Or you see a person sometimes, they look a little upset. Stop them, ask them how they're doing. These small things, they seem small to us, but look how big it is in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through this narration. They are huge. And this may be a means of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala having mercy on us. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He may be answering some of these people's du'as by us. And that's something else to think about. Sometimes the person needs help or support. They're making du'a, Ya Allah help me, Ya Allah support me, Ya Allah get me through this. Sometimes Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends individuals to these people. So sometimes we may be a means of a person's du'a being accepted. We're helping a person because that person made du'a to Allah. And Allah, what an honor, He's sending us to serve them. He's sending us to help them. That's a huge honor. Allah's chosen us, right? So this is why we should always try to go out of our bubble and help the people around us. So the narration continues. Now the narration changes topics. Okay? So the beginning was all about helping one another, being there for one another, removing people's difficulties and so forth. Now the narration goes, وَمَنْ سَلَكَ طَرِيقًا يَلْتَمِسُ فِيهِ عِلْمًا سَهَّلَ اللَّهُ لَهُ بِهِ طَرِيقًا إِلَى الْجَنَّةِ. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala include us here today and us listening in this part of the hadith. The Prophet ﷺ, what does he say? He says, whoever treads a path, whoever takes a path to seek knowledge, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make that person's path to Jannah very easy. Whoever takes a path seeking knowledge, Allah will make that person's path to Jannah very easy. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, again I mentioned, may Allah include us in this hadith, because this in essence is a type of ilm. The hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is a type of knowledge, right? So inshallah Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will include us in this. So now what is this path the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is talking about? So now it's referring to two things. One is a literal path, when a person literally goes and walks and goes to the scholars and gains knowledge from them, the literal path. One is the majazi and metaphorical path, when people are going and listening and memorizing and contemplating about different sciences and so forth. This is also what this means as well. So it's both literally taking the path of knowledge, walking a path of knowledge literally, and going out of your capacity, going out of your way metaphorically, whether it's through listening to lectures, whether it's through memorization, whether it's through contemplation, whatever it is, this is also included in this narration as well. And a narration I want to mention, an example. This narration is mentioned in Abu Dawood, in the Muslim, Imam Ahmad, Tirmidhi, Ibn Majah. It's mentioned in many books. And this just goes to show how much zeal these people had in the past. A person came to Abu Darda radiallahu anhu. Abu Darda, he was in Syria, living in Syria at this time. And Abu Darda was a great companion of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. A man came and he said, Ya Abu Darda, ataytuka min Madinati Rasulillahi sallallahu. I have come to you from Madinatul Munawwara. And this guy, Abu Darda is in Syria. And Medina is, how many hundreds or almost, hundreds of kilometers away, right? So this person traveled by foot or by camel, whatever it was, from Medina to Syria. And then he says, لِحَدِيثٍ بَلَغَنِي أَنَّكَ تُحَدِّثُ بِهِ عَنِ النَّبِيِّ. I have come here all the way from Medina because I have heard that you have a hadith that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said. And Abu Darda was shocked. He said, فَمَا جَاءَ بِكَ تِجَارَةً? You have not come here to Syria for any business? The guy said no. The man said, no, I have not come here for any business. وَلَا جَاءَ بِكَ غَيْرَةً? وَلَا جَاءَ بِكَ غَيْرُ? You have not come here for anything else? You have only come here to take this hadith from me? The man said, yeah, that's the only reason I have come here to take this hadith, to come here. I have only come here to seek this hadith from you. I have no need for business or anything else. So Abu Darda radiallahu anhu, then he said, فَإِنِّي سَمِعْتُ رَسُولَ اللَّهِ. I've heard the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam saying, and then he narrated this hadith. Whoever treads a path seeking knowledge, Allah will make that person's path to Jannah very easy. But look how much this person traveled just for one hadith. He traveled close to a month. By foot or by camel, whatever it is. There was no cars or planes back then. Just for one hadith. Look how spoiled we are today, right? We don't have to travel that far for anything. The tip of our fingers, we have our smartphones, we have the internet, we have masajid that have lectures and so forth, right? But this is how much zeal they had for knowledge. Ya Rahman. So now there's two types of knowledge. One type of knowledge is pertaining to the akhirah, like hadith, fiqh, tafsir, these types of things. And the other type of knowledge is pertaining to this world. Yeah, physics, math, chemistry, biology. These are all different types of knowledge. This hadith is specifically referring to the knowledge pertaining to the akhirah. Okay? It's the knowledge pertaining to what? The knowledge that gives you the understanding of religion and gains you closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay, that's the type of knowledge it is speaking about here. Okay, so may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala include us in this. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the hadith, there's another hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, where he said, whoever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants good for, Allah will grant this person the understanding of deen. This hadith in Sahih Bukhari. مَن يُرِدِ اللَّهُ بِهِ خَيْرًا يُفَقِّهُ فِي الدِّينِ. Whoever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants good for, Allah will grant this person the understanding of religion. So now, there's something that Ubadah ibn Samit, the great Sahabi, and other scholars have also mentioned. What is the first type of knowledge to be removed? And one of the signs of the Day of Judgment is what? Scholars will die and knowledge will be removed. Ilm will be uplifted. So what is the first knowledge to be removed? So Ubadah ibn Samit radiallahu anhu, he says that لَأُخْبِرَنَّكْ بِأَوَّلِ عِلْمٍ يُرْفَعُ مِنَ النَّاسِ الْخُشُوعِ. The first type of knowledge to be removed from this ummah will be what? Khushu'. Devotion in salah. Dedication in prayer. We hear about all these narrations sometimes. When people used to pray, they used to be so focused, right? Khushu' is that focus in prayer. This is the first thing to be removed. Look at our salah today. When we pray, how many distractions we have, how many things come to our mind. We should try to fight these thoughts, right? There was a guy, I mentioned this story in the past. He was a singer. He was a professional singer. Whenever he used to pray, he used to get crazy ideas for different lyrics in his prayer. And then whenever he would finish salah, he would quickly write these lyrics down. So people asked him, they're like, where do you get your lyrics from? And the guy said, when I pray. But they're like, how is that possible? Prayer is something so pure and beautiful. You're getting something so filthy. Like, how does that make sense? But this is the thing. This is how shaitan tries to fool us, right? Sometimes in salah, we have the most brilliant ideas that come to mind. As individuals who experience this, we have to try to fight these thoughts. The more you fight these thoughts, the more it'll go away. The more you snap yourself out of it, the more focus you will gain. It's like working out. The more you work out, the stronger you'll get. Like so, the more you fight to be focused, the more focused you will get. Same concept is applied here as well. Another narration, so Ibn Rajab al-Hanbali, what does he say? He says, فَأَوَّلُ مَا يُرْفَعُ مِنَ الْعِلْمِ. The first type of knowledge to be uplifted is what? That knowledge that pertains to the heart. The type of knowledge that rectifies a person's heart. What does that mean? Meaning, the sweetness of faith will be rarely tasted. There's so many narrations that speak about halawatul iman, the sweetness of iman, right? Contentment of the heart. This is the first thing to be removed from a person's heart. The first type of knowledge to be removed from this ummah. How rare is it now to actually feel iman inside your heart? People sometimes, it's not felt as much anymore. People are fighting for that spirituality, right? And spirituality, you can say, in essence, has kind of died for the most part, right? In comparison to the past. But why? One of the biggest examples for this is that Islam is, and I've mentioned this in the past, Islam is experiential. You're going to only experience true iman. You're only going to experience true iman when what? When you spend time with people who have experienced it themselves. It's like an aura that rubs off on you. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran, He makes note of this. Where He says in Surah At-Tawbah, verse 119, He says, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, ittaqullah, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, ittaqullah, wa kunu ma'as sadiqeen. He says, O you who believe, O you who have iman inside your hearts, have taqwa, fear Allah. And then what does He say after that? And be close to those people who speak the truth. Be with the righteous. Be with the pious. Be with people who are close to Allah. When you are close to people, who are close to Allah themselves, it will have an effect on you. Spending time with these types of people. Finding them, first of all, distinguishing who they are, and then staying close to them. Okay, there's this one example I want to mention. My teacher, he mentioned this to us. This one individual, and I mentioned this in the past. This one man, he had so many mental health disorders. He had anxiety, depression, he had minor signs of schizophrenia and so forth. He never wanted to leave the house. Very stressed out all the time, and it's a sickness in essence, right? But the ulama, they say it's not only a sickness, it's a spiritual sickness. This is what some of the scholars say about mental health. They say it's more to do with the spiritual aspects, okay? This is one of the opinions of the scholars. So, this individual, having all these different problems, he one day met this one very pious individual, a very pious individual. And this is a real story. Anytime he would meet this pious man or spend time with this man, all of his symptoms would just go away. His anxiety would go away and decrease. His stress would decrease. His anxiety would decrease. And whenever he would leave this pious person's presence, all the symptoms would come back. So he tried it out. He's like, every time I'm with this guy, I feel so good. I'm not stressed. I don't have anxiety. I don't have depression. I don't have nothing. But whenever I'm away from him, it's like all these symptoms come back. So what did he do? He's like, you know what? The answer is for me to stay close with him. He started to spend more time with him. Sit in his lectures. Sit in his gatherings. Just have a connection with him. Ask him questions whenever he needed it. To a point where all this person's symptoms went away permanently. The doctors were just shocked. They were like, you were clinically diagnosed with depression, anxiety, clinical depression, but now it has just gone away. What did you do? His answer was what? I started spending time with people who were close to God. Sometimes this could be an answer to many of our problems as well. Finding these people and building a relationship with them, right? So this is one of the reasons why spirituality has died, because people aren't doing this anymore. People are just kind of freestyling and thinking that they know what they're doing and they just go and do it. When in reality, maintaining these links and chains with our pious predecessors, with the pious ulama, is a part of our religion. Okay? So now, so the narration continues. The narration continues, where the Prophet ﷺ, what does he say? the closer we get to Yawm al-Qiyamah, the less the quality of religion will be. This is one of the signs of the Day of Judgment as well. The Prophet ﷺ, what does he say? He says, لا تقوم الساعة إلا على شرار الناس. The Day of Judgment will not come except that only the most wickedest of peoples, the most wickedest and evil of people will be alive during that time. Iman will barely exist. Or another narration mentions, both these narrations are mentioned in Sahih Muslim, where the Prophet ﷺ, he says, لا تقوم الساعة وفي الأرض أحد يقول الله الله. The Day of Judgment will never come while there's a person in the world who is saying Allah, Allah. Now this could be interpreted in two different ways. One, that meaning they say Allah, meaning they have Iman, or the second is what? They are saying Allah, Allah, yani they are making dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They're making dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's name. Okay, both of these are authentic interpretations of this, are accepted interpretations of this hadith. Right? So we should not be a means of this. Look, this is what I tell people. We should not be a means of the Day of Judgment happening. We see these narrations that Iman will increase, dhikr will decrease, Iman will decrease, dhikr will decrease. We should try to increase these things. And we should not be a means of these signs coming and being apparent. So the narration continues. What does the Prophet ﷺ say? He says, وَمَا اجْتَمَعَ قَوْمٌ فِي بَيْتٍ مِّن بُيُوتِ اللَّهِ يَتْلُونَ كِتَابَ اللَّهِ وَيَتَدَارَسُونَهُ بَيْنَهُمْ إِلَّا ماذا؟ إِلَّا نَزَلَتْ عَلَيْهِمُ السَّكِينَةُ وَغَشِيَتْهُمُ الرَّحْمَةُ وَحَفَّتْهُمُ الْمَلَائِكَةُ وَذَكَرَهُمُ اللَّهُ فِي مَنْ عِنْدَهُ. The Prophet ﷺ, what does he say? He says, there's no group of people that come together. There's no group of people that come together in the masjid, in the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, except that tranquility, rahmah and mercy will descend on them. Angels will surround them. Mercy envelops them, and Allah remembers them. 4 things happen when people come together and remember Allah. What are these 4 things? Rahmah, angels surrounding us, tranquility descending upon us, and Allah remembering us. These are 4 things that will happen if we, or when people remember Allah. But now there's a question. There's a question here. Or afwan, sorry, I'll come back to the question. There's another concept here. Listening to Quran also has this effect as well. Okay, some people say that there's no benefit to listening to Quran. Some people make this argument, but this in reality is a baseless argument. Listening to Quran has great benefits. So we see this with the Prophet ﷺ. There's a hadith that's mentioned in both Sahih Bukhari and Sahih Muslim. وَقَدْ كَانَ النَّبِيُّ صلى الله عليه وسلم. The Prophet ﷺ, he would sometimes command individuals to recite Quran so he can listen to it. The Prophet ﷺ would tell his companions sometimes, read Quran because I want to listen. So sometimes he would command Abdullah ibn Mas'ud to recite Quran, and he would listen to him. And then he would say, إِنِّي أُحِبُّ أَنْ أَسْمَعَهُ مِنْ غَيْرِي. I love listening to Quran from someone other than myself. So listening to Quran is a means of remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Or sometimes Umar radiallahu anhu. Umar radiallahu anhu, it's mentioned, he would command different Sahaba to recite Quran. Sometimes he would command Abu Musa al-Ash'ari. Sometimes he would command Uqbat ibn Amir. And then he would sit and listen. Sit and listening to Quran. This is also a means of gaining these 4 virtues mentioned here. Now there's a question. Are we included in this hadith? Where the Prophet ﷺ, this last part especially, where whoever, no group of people come together reciting the book of Allah. So is it specific to reciting the book of Allah to gain these 4 things? Or is it general for all types of remembrance of religion or the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, whatever it is? Or is it specific? So there's a hadith, a very beautiful hadith, that includes individuals like us in it as well. Well, the Prophet ﷺ, he says that, he says, Inna lillahi malaika. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has angels. What do these angels do? Yatufuna fit turuq. These angels, their duty is to go around the world. Yaltamisuna ahl al-dhikr. Their duty is to go around the world and find ahlul dhikr. Find people who are remembering Allah through, whether it's through Quran, whether it's through actual dhikr, whether it's through the sunnah, whether it's through his religion. Finding people who are talking about these things. That's their duty. They're going around finding these people, right? And then when they find these people, يذكرون الله تعالى فتنادوا هلموا إلى حاجتكم. So when they find these people, what do? They get together, and then these angels come together and they make a wall that goes up, or they make a pillar that goes up to the heavens. The angels come together and surround these people. And then what happens is that these individuals, فَيَسْأَلُونَ رَبَّهُمْ, and then these angels go to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah will ask these angels. Allah knows, but He's asking these angels, what are my slaves doing? And the angels, they will say, Ya Allah, they are يُسَبِّحُونَك. They are praising you. They're saying Subhanallah. They're remembering you. وَيُكَبِّرُونَك. They're saying Allahu Akbar. They're glorifying you. وَيُحَمِّدُونَك. They're praising you. And they're just speaking about your greatness. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will ask, did these slaves of mine see me? Why are they praising me? Allah is asking these angels. And the angels will say, La, they don't see you, Ya Allah. And then Allah will say, what will happen? What do you think if they were to see me? What would these slaves of mine be doing? And the angels, they will say, if they were to see you, they would worship you, and they would increase in the things they do. They would increase glorifying you, increase praising you, increase worshiping you. And then the narration continues. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will say, فَمَا يَسْأَلُونِي. What are these slaves of mine in the world asking me? What are they making dua for? What are they asking me? And the angels will say, Ya Allah, they're asking you for Jannah. And then Allah will say to these angels, have these slaves of mine seen Jannah? And the angels will say, La, wallahi, they have not, O Allah. مَا رَأَوْهَا. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will say, what if they were to see it? How would they act? And the angels will answer, Ya Allah, if they were to see Jannah, they would ask with even more zeal and passion because of what they see. With extreme talab and extreme raghba. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will then ask, فَمِمَّا يَتَعَوَّضُونَ. What are these slaves of mine in the world seeking refuge from? They're always asking me for seeking refuge. What are they asking me for refuge? And the angels will say, Ya Allah, they're seeking refuge from the fire. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will say, have they seen the fire? And the angels will say, no. But if they were to see the fire, they would ask you with even more dedication and devotion. And the narration continues. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at the end of the narration, He says, I have forgiven every single one of them. I have forgiven every single one of these slaves who are remembering me, who are making dua to me. This is because of what? These angels are going and interceding for us. That's what's happening here, right? And then the narration goes, then one of the angels, he mentions, he says, Ya Allah, there's a person who was not sitting in that gathering, but he came at the end. He came at the end just for some type of need. He's not there for the actual purpose of that gathering. What should we do with him? Are you going to forgive that person's sins as well? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will say, هُمُ الْجُلَسَاء لَا يَشْقَى بِهِمْ جَلِيسُهُم. They are all considered people who are sitting together. Nobody sitting in this gathering will ever be unhappy. SubhanAllah. Just sitting in these types of gatherings have so much barakah, rahmah, and mercy. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala include us in this. So now, and these four things I mentioned to you, the Prophet ﷺ, he actually mentions these four rewards in a different narration. And the hadith is mentioned in Sahih Muslim, where he says, "Inna li ahli dhikrillahi ta'ala arba'an." There are four things that the people who remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will get. What are these four things? تُنزِلُ عَلَيْهِمُ السَّكِينَةِ. Tranquility will descend upon them. وَتَغَشَّاهُمُ الرَّحْمَةِ. Mercy will envelop them. وَتَحَفَّ بِهِمُ الْمَلَائِكَةِ. And angels will surround them. وَيَذْكُرُهُمَ الرَّبُّ فِي مَنْ عِنْدَهُ. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will remember them. These four things are specifically also mentioned in another narration as well. So my brothers and sisters, this narration, as we see, there are so many benefits, right? From the beginning, it's just a recap. It speaks about being there for one another, helping each other. Whenever a person has a difficulty, we should try our best to remove it. And then it goes to the concept of seeking knowledge. This is also considered, inshallah ta'ala, may Allah include this in a gathering of knowledge. We see these types of rewards. We should try to take more part in these types of gatherings, encourage people to come, encourage people to listen as well, so we can all be included in these rewards, inshallah ta'ala, right? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He's always there. He's always listening to us. I'm going to end off by this. Mawlana Rumi rahmatullahi alayh, he speaks about a man in his Mathnawi. There's an individual, he says, on yaki Allah me gufti shabi, taki shireen me shud az zikrash labi. There was a person who used to make a lot of dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to a point where this person's tongue used to become sweet. His lips used to become sweet because of how much he used to remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then shaitan came to him. Shaitan came and he said, you remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you call upon Allah so much, but Allah has never answered any of your calls. Why do you call upon Him? Allah never responds to your calls. And this person, shaitan's whispers, sometimes it affects us. He became very sad. He said, it's true, I call upon Allah so much, but He never responds to my calls. This man went to sleep and he had a dream. Khidr alayhi salatu wasalam came into his dream. And Khidr alayhi salatu wasalam, he mentions that Khidr alayhi salatu wasalam said, Guft on Allah tu labbaik mast. Wa niyaz o dard o sozat paik mast. Then he goes and he says, Tars o ishqi tu kamand lutf mast. Zere har ya rabbi tu labbaik hast. He said, every single time you say Allah, every single time you call upon Allah, He is there. He's saying, yes, my slave, what do you need? Allah is there every single time we call Him. So sometimes we call somebody, the reception is weak or whatever it is. Nothing like that when it comes to calling Allah. We call upon Allah, He is there immediately. There's no delay. The rahmah is immediate. We might not see the reward or the alleviation right then and there, but we eventually will. We just got to keep persistent on it. We can't, call upon Allah once or twice to be like, yeah, Allah, He's not helping me. Inna Allaha yuhibbul mulihina fi du'a. Allah loves those people. The Prophet ﷺ said, Allah loves those people who continuously call upon Him. We have to show Allah that we actually need Him. The more you call upon Allah, the more His labbaik is there. The more His saying of, I am there is actually there. The more we see the rewards and the fruits of this call. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us all tawfiq to act upon what has been heard and said. And inshallah ta'ala, I just wanted to mention as well, April 12th, inshallah, April 12th, we will have the khatam of this book, of the 40 hadith of Imam Nawawi. So I encourage everybody who is also listening online to try your best to inshallah come as well during that khatam. It's going to be Sunday, April 12th. It'll be after Maghrib. It'll be the final hadith of the 40. And we're going to have a small little program, inshallah ta'ala, just to conclude. And then, so try your best to, inshallah ta'ala, make it and spread the message, inshallah ta'ala. جزاكم الله خيرا وأحسن الجزاء. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم.